For a number of years, some Dracula fans have argued, is the movie Dracula Dead and Loving It the worst Dracula movie ever? Or is it actually underrated? Coming up, we're going to go behind the scenes of Mel Brooks' vampire comedy to see why people have been warming up to the horror movie classic.
Monster Complex.
Hi, I'm Chris Well from Monster Complex. At our website, we celebrate stories about monsters and the people who hunt them and/or love them. The vampire comedy movie Dracula Dead and Loving It got bad press upon its 1995 release in movie theaters and bombed at the box office. In fact, it stands as the last film directed by legendary director Mel Brooks. But did audiences misjudge the movie? In the years since its original release, the movie Dracula Dead and Loving It has grown in popularity. Today there are a growing number of people online and in print saying that the movie was actually pretty fun and is worth checking out. Coming up, we look at some behind-the-scenes facts in the making of Dracula Dead and Loving It, including clues about why fans are starting to enjoy it. First, let's talk about the movie, a comic rethinking of Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula and of some of its many adaptations, especially the classic 1931 Dracula movie that starred Bela Lugosi. Dracula Dead and Loving It features a Transylvanian vampire who works his evil spell on a perplexed group of Londoners. Directed by Mel Brooks, his version of the Count is a pratfalling evil prince of a guy who believes in long relationships. The movie references styles and ideas from several Dracula adaptations, in addition to the Universal Monsters classic Dracula from 1931. Other inspirations include the Dracula movies from Hammer horror films that starred Christopher Lee, plus the 1967 vampire comedy movie The Fearless Vampire Killers, and the 1992 movie Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Now let's go behind the scenes of Mel Brooks' vampire comedy. Mel Brooks has directed lots of similar parodies. It's amazing to realize that writer and director Mel Brooks has a career that spans more than 7 decades. He's also one of the few people to win the EGOT, meaning that he has won an Emmy, and a Grammy Award, and an Oscar, and a Tony Award. He's also won lots of other awards. Of his many accomplishments, the ones that are the most relevant right now are that he is responsible for movies like High Anxiety, which is a parody of Alfred Hitchcock movies. Brooks also made the movie Spaceballs, which makes fun of Star Wars. I consider that joke about them watching the movie as they're making it to be one of the funniest jokes in movie history. I also want to bring up that Mel Brooks was the co-creator of the 1960s spy-fi comedy TV series Get Smart. But of course, for today's topic, the most relevant fact of all is that Mel Brooks directed and co-wrote the 1974 movie Young Frankenstein, which is a parody of the Universal monster movies about the Frankenstein's monster. That movie was co-written by Gene Wilder, who also starred as the grandson of Dr. Victor Frankenstein. Also part of the cast was Peter Boyle as the monster. The movie pokes fun at classic horror movies, especially those that were inspired by Mary Shelley's original novel Frankenstein. In fact, a lot of the lab equipment we see in the movie Young Frankenstein is actually the same stuff the studio made for the 1931 movie Frankenstein. To help strike the feeling of the original movies, Brooks shot Young Frankenstein in black and white, and even copied 1930s style opening credits and scene transitions. A very successful movie, Young Frankenstein appears on lots of lists of great comedy movies. And Mel Brooks has even said that he considers Young Frankenstein to be one of the best movies he's ever made. Dracula Dead and Loving It was created as a companion to Young Frankenstein. In fact, the making of a Frankenstein movie is part of what inspired Mel Brooks to make a Dracula movie. As he said in an interview for an international DVD release, I did Young Frankenstein, and I said I need a companion piece. And then Francis Ford Coppola did Dracula, and I always loved the Bela Lugosi Dracula, the first one he did in America in the 30s, so I said it's time. And I was watching Leslie Nielsen in Naked Gun 33 1/3, and I said, ah, he is a perfect Dracula. He has wisdom in age, and he's charming. Everything is perfect for Nielsen to play Dracula. And I decided to be Van Helsing the vampire hunter. You know, the one who knows that something is wrong. It was perfect. Brooks says that the intent behind Dracula, Dead and Loving It was to be both thrilling and funny. That's what we tried to do in this picture. Like Young Frankenstein, it should be very dramatic, and yet it should always be hysterically funny. You know, that's our job. They originally planned to make Dracula, Dead and Loving It in black and white. When Mel Brooks and the other filmmakers began to discuss the making of Dracula, Dead and Loving It, one of the early ideas was whether to make the movie in black and white as a way to follow one of the successful characteristics of Brooks' 1974 Universal Monsters parody, Young Frankenstein. But for the Dracula movie, they eventually dropped the idea. In the Blu-ray movie commentary, screenwriter Steve Haberman said they thought through how so many great Dracula movies were in color. Examples include the Hammer pictures starring Christopher Lee, plus Francis Ford Coppola's 1992 movie, Bram Stoker's Dracula. In Dracula, Dead and Loving It, the Count is at the mercy of his servants. Leslie Nielsen, who portrayed Dracula, said that their approach to the character was to make him a victim. He's looking for assistance from mortals, and he gets nothing but botched up because they don't follow instructions. So what you see in this is a suffering Dracula, a victimized Dracula. It's a shame. Dracula, Dead and Loving It, has that scene with lots and lots and lots of blood. Making fun of some of the more violent vampire movies, Mel Brooks' Dracula, Dead and Loving It includes a particularly unrestrained scene involving staking a vampire through the heart. The end result is a fountain of blood that drenches Jonathan Harker, played by Steven Weber. Watching the scene, it seems like Weber did not expect to get splattered on so much. In fact, he told an interviewer that the scene was a lot of fun to shoot, but fairly complicated. He even said that his eyes still sting whenever he watches that scene because of all the fake blood that got into his eyes. Mel Brooks said that he loved how the blood scene turned out. He called it his masterpiece of insanity. Anne Bancroft's character referenced classic Universal Monster movies. One of the actresses in Dracula, Dead and Loving It was Anne Bancroft, the wife of director Brooks, as well as a renowned actress in her own right. Bancroft played the character of Romani woman Madame Uspenskaya. What's significant is that the character is named after an actress from the Universal Monsters movies. Maria Uspenskaya was a Russian actress who, as an old woman, played a fortune teller in 1941's The Wolfman and in 1943's Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. Since I mentioned Anne Bancroft, so we're talking about Mel Brooks' family, this is a great time to mention that their son Max Brooks wrote the novel World War Z, an oral history of the zombie war. Just saying. Leslie Nielsen loved working with Mel Brooks on Dracula, Dead and Loving It. Younger fans may not realize that actor Leslie Nielsen spent a lot of years as an actor, starting in the 1950s, playing very serious and dramatic roles. It wasn't until the 1980 movie Airplane that he suddenly got to do comedy. Granted, the reason they hired him to play that role was to play it as a serious actor. That change in his career led to him starring in the Naked Gun movies. Talking about his time working on Dracula, Dead and Loving It, Nielsen said working on the movie was as fun as working on Naked Gun. I've been having nothing but fun. It's like I get up early to get to work early to start laughing sooner because I have a wonderful time. It's a pleasure to come here and to do this wonderful, fun stuff, working with a marvelous cast, and know that I'm going to be coming here to be working with Mel Brooks. We take all of the other things for granted, that you know how skillful and funny he is, but he's just a very thoughtful, very, very supportive, very gentle person, and very smart guy. He's terrific. Peter MacNicol was thrilled to play Renfield. Of course, the character of Renfield, who first appeared in Bram Stoker's original novel Dracula, is Count Dracula's tormented, bug-eating handyman. MacNicol said that anyone who plays the character of Renfield is trying to match the quality of Dwight Frye, who played the role in the 1931 movie Dracula. Quote, "He's there looming over us to be paid homage to," end quote. When Mel Brooks called McNichol to ask whether he was interested in talking about the Dracula movie, the actor was immediately on board. Renfield is a part I've been hearing about. I don't know why people thought I should have a go at it. I suppose I should have been insulted. But no, I couldn't pass it up. Dracula, Dead and Loving It, did not end Mel Brooks' career. So, Dracula, Dead and Loving It was the last movie directed by Mel Brooks. But unlike what some people want to tell you, he clearly has not given up. Let's look back over his career. Going all the way back to the 1940s, he spent decades as an actor, a comedian, a filmmaker, a songwriter, and a playwright. His products have included TV shows and movies and comedy albums and Broadway musicals and books. Mel Brooks is now 97, and he's still doing stuff. In the years since he made the Dracula movie, Brooks created Broadway musical versions of Young Frankenstein and the award-winning The Producers. Brooks has been acting, including Mr. Peabody and Sherman as Albert Einstein, the Hotel Transylvania movies as Dracula's dad, Toy Story 4 as Maleficent Brooks, as well as the movie Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank, which is a loose remake of Brooks' classic Western comedy Blazing Saddles. Brooks has also been working in television, including Spaceballs, the animated series, and History of the World Part 2. So while some have tried to consider Dracula, Dead and Loving It as a stake in Mel Brooks' career, the fact that we continually have to update his resume proves those people wrong. Dracula, Dead and Loving It has slowly grown in popularity over the years. When the movie came out, Dracula, Dead and Loving It had some trouble finding an audience. But over the years, a growing number of people have started to recognize its value and have grown to appreciate it. Here are some examples. Slash Film posted, quote, "To this day, there are moments of this movie that still make me laugh out loud, and the movie has aged remarkably well." CBR posted, "The film deserves more praise for brilliantly lampooning vampire movies." SF Debris posted, "This film does have a lot that I like about it. One thing I find so funny is that this film has the most accurate portrayal of Van Helsing in any media." Vampire comedy fans owe Dracula, Dead and Loving It some respect for how it showed how to have fun with the classic vampire movies. So earlier we were talking about how Dracula, Dead and Loving It was copying elements from old Dracula movies. But there's something about those old movies that a lot of fans don't know anything about. Is it possible that the version of Dracula you have in your head is actually based on a completely different book by a completely different author? But to dig deep into that story, you got to click over here.